I used to try and force myself to be perfect in everything, and it's not possible. I lose track of the dates, but it was just after that I then got the sad news about the miscarriage. So there was maybe this 3-week or so period of this secrecy. And I said to her, she knew I was very anxious, and I said to her, like, do you think we should still go shopping and look at bits and get some stuff? And she said to me, oh God,
okay.
Can't say. She said, just for one day, let's just have hope, like just for one day.
I never know how to open these really, but hello.
Hi.
Hi, Sophie. How are you?
I'm all right.
Good.
Yeah.
So you're my super special guest today.
Yes.
It's the first time we've met. The reason why I've asked you to come on, I think what you do and looking at some of your story more recently as well, kind of grabbed my interest. And it is something that doesn't get spoken a lot about, and we'll come on to that a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
But it's my sort of first question to you. For those who don't know you, how would you describe what you do, who you are, anything else you kind of want to say, really?
Okay. I'm a women's coach.
Yep.
So I coach women with fat loss, but it's very important to me that it's not just about fat loss. So we do a little bit of everything, from relationship with food to mindset work to training in the gym.
Yep.
And building confidence up through a combination of all of those things. And I've got a program called Elevate You, which is the group coaching program. However, I would say that my entire coaching ethos was really based around Elevate You, and then you've just got the option of you work with me at the group level through that or one-to-one. My mind's gone blank.
That's all right. No pressure.
What was the rest of the question? Sorry.
Just sort of who you are, what you do.
Okay. So I've been doing it for coming up for 7 years, and like I said, mostly working with women. I have coached a few men in the past, but I've just lent more into working with women because we've built a community of women who are on similar types of journeys and have similar types of challenges and struggles. And I think the thing for me is, what I love about it is when you help a woman that has struggled for sometimes like 2, 3, 4 decades or more, with themselves, their bodies, their weight, and the relationship with food. And then you're able to almost help them get out of this hole that they've been stuck in for so long. And they see that there is another way that they can do it. And it's not about punishing themselves or starving themselves and doing the most awful ways of trying to get to where they want to be. And they realise that, there is this other way. It is sustainable and I can do it, and I don't need to feel crap in myself or constantly beat myself up. I think the way that we do that is by having this attitude of like taking imperfect action, not trying to overhaul everything overnight and change too much at once. So it's for a lot of my clients, given their journey so far, it is a very step by step, like we will work on this, and once you've got that going consistently, then we'll add this in. And I'm not just one of these coaches that just tells you what to do. Like, it is very much a two-way relationship, and I want to hear from you, like, are you struggling with something? And we'll try and get to the bottom of why that is, and we'll use tools and journals and stuff to do that. It's not just, right, go off, do this for a week, come back to me. You've not done it, you're going to get told off. Like, it's never like that. It's always a two-way thing, and we work out, why are you finding this hard? What can we do to make this more accessible? And I've found that in my style of coaching, I feel like it's more important to help someone keep momentum going. Even, like I said, even if it's not perfect every week, I think in the long run, it's better to keep that momentum going and feel like you're achieving something, rather than one week you're got this 100% perfect week and the next week you can't do that. so you do nothing, and then you feel like a failure, and that gets internalized, and you just get like stuck in that same cycle you've been in for like 2 decades or more. Yeah, that's probably a summary.
Yeah, it sounds incredibly supportive, and sounds amazing. That must be quite a community that you've grown over that 6-7 years.
Yeah, I mean, the community is quite new, actually. Okay. So it's only been just over a year. Yep. I was very much just a one-to-one coach until, what year are we now? Until April 2024, so April last year.
Fairly new.
And that was when I first launched a group program. It used to be called SGCA back then.
Yeah.
And I was terrified about doing a group program because I've never felt comfortable in groups. Like in school, I was never in a friend group. Groups have always been very scary. If I get put in a group social situation, I'll be the quiet observer most of the time. I'm much better one-to-one. And so I never thought I would do anything like that. But I could see that there would be benefit of doing that for the women and also myself, selfishly. So I made the group, and that first group, there were, I think, 18 women in that first intake. I forgot where I was going with this. What was the question?
I can't remember what the question was, but you were talking about big groups and
community. You were saying about the community I built. So yeah, some of the women from that original intake, they are still in the group because they've stayed working with me one-to-one. They've upgraded and went on to working a bit more in depth, because obviously in a group setting there's only so much you can delve into because it is more of a structured fixed program, so everyone follows a similar thing with options to sort of delve more into certain areas that they might find more beneficial. But obviously it's not one-to-one, so it's not as personalised.
Is there a lot of peer support within that?
I do find that, especially when I have these periodic group intakes, so you bring new people in all the time, and if you've got people in there that are happy to share about their journey and they are chatty, then you'll find that people are supportive. Sometimes it goes a bit quiet. I mean, this time of year, I think everyone's quite busy with the lead up to Christmas, so that community chat is more on the quiet side, but it sort of peaks and troughs. But I think the thing is, everyone knows that if they do need help, especially if they aren't a one-to-one client, so they can't directly contact me, they'll know that they can put something in there. They're not going to get judged or shamed in front of everyone. They're going to get help and support that they need.
Have you found that community's helped you personally?
Yeah.
So are you a little bit better in groups and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really weird because I remember getting to the end of that. The first group program was just an 8-week thing. It was just meant to be like a one-off and see how it went. And I got to the end of that and I was like, I need a community all of the time. And it was just gone at the end of that 8 weeks. And then it wasn't until a few months later, I was like, I'm going to do another intake. And at the end of that, I then kept, by November last year, that I kept the community going. Because I was like, actually, this is also somewhere where, two things. I can share my wins and struggles and show them that I am human and I don't get it perfect every week. Again, that's part of the ethos of what I think works long term. And they can see that I'm real and struggle with some of the things they struggle with. So it's helpful for me too. And it keeps me accountable because on a Monday we set our intentions for the week. On a Wednesday we share what's gone well or what our wins are. And it means that I also have to keep accountable to them.
Though. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the kind of, when you said about being human, that totally aligns with my ethos and how I like to work. And it's one of the reasons why I'm doing this is if people want to see a different, they might not necessarily see a different side to me, but if they want to know more about me or whatever, like in this room is my therapy room. Like one of the first things I say to clients is we are human first. And I am a professional, but I'm a human first. And that's the kind of relation. And I love that you do the same.
I used to try and be with my clients super professional. And I'm not saying I'm unprofessional, but I used to try and be like, several years ago, probably like going back about nearly 5 years ago, I started online, and I used to try and be like, this is me, and I only ever show like, oh, I'm eating well, or I'm in the gym, and this is going well, and here's my wins. And I try and never let them see that I was struggling, because I thought if they see that I'm struggling, they might think, well, how can I take advice from someone that can't even do it themselves? And then over time, it gets a bit exhausting, doesn't it? So it's just easier to just be yourself and be authentic and be genuine. And so when I'm there doing my like one-to-one video feedback, if they say something that they've struggled with, and I'll be like, no, do you know what? I've been through that too. And I'll be more like honest and open about it. Not make the whole thing about myself, but I'll be like, I can resonate and share that.
Humanise it.
Yeah. And with all of the stuff that's happened recently, I've just been super honest, and I've explained what I've been going through, and just makes it easier.
So kind of going into that then a little bit. If you want to, if you're able to, do you want to talk about a little bit about what that experiences?
Yeah, of course.
It's been like.
Where do you want me to start from?
Well, from kind of following you on Instagram for a little while, you know, a lot of your stuff, from what I've seen, it was around like fertility and trying for a family, which is great. It's not something I particularly follow generally from other people. But again, that kind of honesty and the rawness of it and being open, you give it such an insight that I've not seen. And then sort of following that, and I know I think I reached out to you just before. I think you mentioned that you had a miscarriage. Again, really sorry. Like it's a horrible thing to go through. I know what that's like as well. And again, you, from what I've seen, being very open and honest and answering people's questions and creating discussion and sharing different posts and stuff. Like, I don't really know what the question is, but what has that been like for you to be open and honest about that journey? And
I think I made the decision. Well, we made the decision, because obviously it's my husband as well. But we made that decision from the start when I said about let's share the baby making journey, as we called it. That this would look like being honest and open throughout the whole thing, like no matter what happened. And I always had in the back of my head that there could be a chance that things might not work out, or it could have taken a long time for us to get pregnant. Anything could have happened, and I kind of had in the back of my head I've set out to just share the raw journey of it.
So was that in the back of your mind before you even started?
Yeah, it was. But I think that's because I have the kind of brain that does often think of all of the different scenarios that can happen, including the worst case scenarios, and I'm quite realistic of if you were to get pregnant, it can end in miscarriage. I was quite aware, but I was a student midwife previously. That's what I did when I left school. So just over a year as a student midwife, so I saw a lot in that time.
I can imagine,
working so closely with women as well, I think I'd been exposed a bit more to things like pregnancy loss than I would have otherwise, because in the nature of what I'm doing, women will tell you pretty much immediately when they find out they're pregnant, because they worry about exercise, what they should and shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
Which by default means you then hear more when there is a loss. And obviously having friends that are having babies and getting pregnant, again, like it's not something I was naive about. So I knew that there's a possibility. It's a bit different when it actually happens. But yeah, we knew sort of from the outset of sharing that journey, I knew I wanted to, as much as possible, share all of it and not hide away. So obviously it started with sharing our prep for preparing to get pregnant, which, like you say, you don't really see. I hadn't really seen much of that at all online. But what instigated it was I did this little Instagram course back in the summer, and the guy, he really reiterated about sharing or making like a personal brand.
Yeah.
So not just talking about coaching and what I do with work, but showing you and your life.
Yeah. And
having something that you can, almost like a theme, talk about. And I was like, well, I can just do this. So I started doing it. And also, just I guess as a side note, I think that preparation isn't really something I really know of anyone doing, like the sort of working on your nutrition and your fitness and getting yourself into the best possible place to have like good pregnancy outcomes, or improving your fertility. So it kind of tied in with work at the same time as well, being a nutritionist and helping people with all of those things. Like the amount of times where my clients have got pregnant and they felt like, whether it was or not, but they felt like it was a result of the work we've done together. So yeah, I just felt like it was a natural thing to share. And then we found out I was pregnant on the 11th of October.
Yep.
And we said, right, we'll get to having like an early scan, and then we will tell our close friends and family, and then we'll share it, and we'll just share the whole pregnancy. And I wasn't worried about waiting until a 12-week scan or anything to be open about it, because my personal opinion is there is no safe point. You don't magically get to 12 weeks and it's all okay.
Yeah.
So that was what I was going to do, just have that early scan and then just start sharing the journey from then on. I also think that in the first trimester, a lot of the time is when women need the most support from people around them, and it's the time no one shares it. You keep it to yourself till 12 weeks. You might tell a couple of people, but so I don't know how I'd show up for my clients and show up online, because I am online. How would I do that without, again, being authentic and sharing the journey? And then 3 days after finding out I was pregnant, I started spotting, and I was just stuck in terms of online, in terms of my clients. I was like, this thing's going on, I can't talk about it. I felt like I was just having to like cover up and mask and not be myself. I was ill at the same time, which wasn't great, but at least I could be like, I'm just really ill. Like I can't do X, Y, Z, I'm ill, or I'm not at the gym because I'm ill, which was true, but it was just a nice cover up. And I actually think that, I don't know how long that went on for. I had about 16 days of spotting. I think that had stopped for a day, and then I had this, I lose track of the dates, but it was just after that I then got the sad news about the miscarriage. So there was maybe this 3-week or so period of this secrecy, and it made me feel worse because I felt like I couldn't be honest about what was going on. I couldn't talk about how I was feeling and what I was going through. And the second that I was able to, I think it was like the day after the like main day of the miscarriage started, I decided I was just going to talk about it. And the moment I talked about it, I just felt relief. I was like, and I don't know why, because I'd been talking to friends and talking to family, but I think when you do have that online presence, and you feel like you can't show up authentically and be yourself, it just feels like there's this like pulling inside of you. But the moment I started talking to it, and then I was quite literally flooded with messages from other women and men that had also been through pregnancy loss, and I pretty much immediately didn't feel alone in any of it. There were loads of people to talk to who'd been through the same or worse, or even if they hadn't, there were a lot of very empathetic people, which I don't always find that some people aren't always empathetic, are they? But I was shocked by how many strangers were. Like the amount of strangers that seemed to like felt like they were coming to my rescue or just coming to tell me that I wasn't alone and sharing their story.
So much more common than you realise when you start talking about it. And
I knew the stats, but you know when you're like, oh my God, they're all around me and they're in my inbox now. So the moment I started to just be honest about it, it felt like everything lifted.
Would you change anything?
In terms of like talking about it or sharing?
Kind of, you were saying that, was it 16 days of like, you're saying that holding that kind of secret and that spotting. What made you feel like you couldn't mention that or talk about that?
You know what? I don't know. I don't know. I think we had this scan booked. I think it was for 7 plus 3. That's when it was booked. It was on the Saturday. The miscarriage then happened the Sunday. But we had this scan booked. And it's a bit of a side note why we booked a scan. It's because we want to hire a private midwife.
Okay.
That's a whole other conversation. And you have to pay quite a lot of money for your deposit for that. And you need to pay that deposit before you have your booking appointment around 8 to 10 weeks. So we were like, it would be very sensible for us to have a scan to see if everything's okay before handing over that deposit.
Makes sense.
And that was the only reason we booked an early scan. It wasn't because I was worried or couldn't wait for the 12-week one. Like, I knew the stats and I knew what could happen, but I felt fine with waiting. Like, totally different story now. Like, the next pregnancy just feels like it's going to be this complete anxious time. But so I think I was just thinking, right, 7 odd weeks. So it wasn't long to wait. We found out quite early, about 3 weeks and 3 days or something. I did an early test, so we found out pretty early. I was thinking, it's 4 weeks, and we let our family know pretty much immediately, and friends and stuff. And I just thought, I'll just hang on till that scan. But in hindsight, and I've said, like, hopefully when we next find out we're pregnant, I probably would share it a bit sooner. Probably more so if there was an issue, because I think it's that not feeling alone in it. And I also think there's only so much you can talk to your friends and family. And I felt like, and they probably don't see it this way, but I felt like I was being a right drain because my anxiety when I had all of that spotting was just through the roof. And I was like, I don't know where to take this and what to do with this. I do get anxious about stuff, but this was some whole new level because of the unknown and feeling like I was stuck in limbo. And I couldn't get help, and I couldn't get any tests or scans or anything. And it was just that horrible limbo. And I think just kind of talking to the same sort of, 3 to 5 people about it, and just basically saying the same thing nearly every day. Just, I don't know, I think it'd be much more helpful to maybe, sometimes it's more helpful to talk to strangers, isn't it?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's why I'm in a job.
Exactly. There you go.
Is there any support you feel like you need or you should get or you should have got that's maybe not out there? I know, like, you got a lot of support from the people around you.
Yeah.
But what do you feel like is missing? If you do.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
There, in terms of the healthcare system, I know what it's like in maternity services. I've worked in it. But to be honest, I was shocked at how I was met when I tried to seek help. The first thing I did, or the first time I made contact to try and get help, was with the early pregnancy unit over the phone, where I felt massively dismissed. The person was quite condescending. They said, "Is this your first pregnancy?" I said, "Yes." And from then on, it was they may as well have just said, "You're a first time mum, you don't know anything." and you're not in tune with your body, so how could you possibly know something's wrong? And we basically don't care. So and they said to me, spotting is very common in pregnancy. If we saw everyone that was spotting, we'd have the whole of Medway in here.
That was
what they said to me.
Wow.
And I think this was the second time I'd phoned, because I'd rung the first time I was actually in Cornwall at my parents', and I contacted a local unit. They couldn't see me because I had this pain on the left side, and I was then thinking, oh my God, is this an ectopic pregnancy? Like, you don't know, because you don't you can't scan yourself and see what's going on. They were like, we can't see you till the Monday. So they said, contact your local unit and get booked in, and they should see you. But in the meantime, if this pain gets worse, you need to go to A&E. So anyway, I contacted my local unit. The first person I spoke to, actually, she was fine. She was like, well, if you were in Medway right now, we see you now. So I'm surprised they don't want to see you in Cornwall. But look, like they say, if it gets worse, just go to A&E and they'll see you. So it was a Sunday. They're open 7 days a week. So on a Sunday, on the way back from Cornwall, I thought, I'm going to ring up. Maybe they'll see me tomorrow. And that's when I had that horrible phone call, and it made everything 10 times worse because of how it makes you feel. And I think if I always zoom out and I look at it from like a bigger perspective, and I think if I was any other woman and didn't know what I know about the maternity system, and right now I'm in the early pregnancy and I feel like there's a problem, but they're telling me I don't know anything, I'm a first-time mum, I'm being dismissed, it's not a problem, you don't need to come in. Then what if that woman then got to, I don't know, 37, 38 weeks pregnant, she thinks, oh, my baby's not moving as much as it normally does, but in your head there's that experience where, but last time I thought it was a problem, they wasn't a problem, and they told me I was being silly and didn't need to make a fuss. It's like, well, so then she doesn't go in, and then she might lose her baby, you know. And I always zoom out and look at it like that, and then I think, because I know what to expect, and I know in my experience, and this is just my opinion, I think you have to advocate for yourself so hard in the healthcare system generally, but especially as a woman, and even more so in maternity. So I zoom out and I look at it and I go, God, if this is how you're treating everyone, there is bound to be a case like that, what I've just described, that happens because you felt like you were wasting time, or you felt like you were being silly, and that sticks with you.
Yeah.
And then something disastrous happens. And then when I eventually did get to go to hospital, which I rung again the next day, they were very reluctant to see me, but told me to go to the gynae walk-in. Went there. I got told, before you come in though, you need to do a pregnancy test. And I was in Medway working, and home is in Maidstone and the hospital in Medway. So I was like, well, I am pregnant, like, I am, but okay. So I drove all the way home, did a pregnancy test, even took a picture of it, and then I thought, oh no, I'll take it with me, just, and then they can literally see it and they'll know I'm not lying and I'm definitely pregnant, I'm not making it up. Put it in my bag, drive all the way back over there, and she goes, oh, I need you to do a wee sample. Need to do a pregnancy test. I went, oh yeah, they said on the phone that before I came in I had to do a pregnancy test. Oh no, we can't take that one, we have to do another. Before we can see you, we've got to do another one. And I went, I've got it here, but okay, I don't need a wee now, I just went, but okay. And it's every single step of the way, it's like, it's just made harder. And then effectively they couldn't do anything that day, that's all they could do. But I did try quite hard to try and advocate for myself, and I was trying to get HCG blood tests, because I know at that stage you can have a blood test to measure that hormone, and a couple of days later you repeat it, and if it's gone up, usually a promising sign. If it's going down, obviously, you know, it's just more about knowing where you stand and not feeling in limbo. And when you're that anxious, I think you will do almost anything to try and get some answer. Looking back, I don't think I would even bother. if this all happened again, because you can't stop it from happening. But it's just when you're in that such like heightened state and you just want an answer.
Yeah.
So I did try that day, but got told to go back 9 days later for a scan. The booking in of that scan would have been a cock up, excuse my language.
So you could swear if you want to swear.
But yeah, I feel like if I hadn't have asked some questions around, okay, when will I get this appointment through? How will it come through? Okay, it's the post, right? And if I don't get the post in time because it's 9 days away and there's a weekend, who do I ring to check? And it was only then that this junior doctor took me into the person I'd done the retest with, and she, I'll book that for you now. It's like, well, would it have not been booked had I not asked questions? I feel like you have to constantly chase everything, and that's another frustration. So I went for this scan, and I think you should ask questions and stuff when you go to medical appointments. So they were looking at it and they found a gestational sac and a yolk sac, and it all sounded positive. They were like, there's no fetal pole, but you're bang on 6 weeks today, sometimes a couple more days and you'll see that, and that's okay. And then I said, does the lining of my uterus look okay? Oh, well, what makes you ask about that? And I said, well, because I've had this spotting and I know about progesterone levels, and I'm just wondering, could this be a low progesterone issue? And that's why I'm spotting. So I'm wondering if my uterus looks okay. The assistant woman pipes up, oh, someone's been Googling. She laughed as well and then said that. And I'm laying there, I've got this probe up me in quite a vulnerable situation, trying to find out if my baby's alive or not. And now you're mocking me for asking a question. And I get so annoyed, and I'm never an outwardly angry person. Like, it takes an awful lot for me to just snap, but I could feel it like bubbling up inside of me. I'm like, why are you making this worse? And why are you in this job if you can't just be compassionate and kind? So that happened. There was a few more little incidents like that. It all in all wasn't a very positive experience, and I didn't feel supported in that healthcare system until, but we actually got the sad news at a private scan with a fetal medicine doctor locally, and I was absolutely relieved that it was him giving me that news and not them, because of the way he delivered it and the way that I was able to ask questions and have my questions answered and not be palmed off. It was a completely different experience, but I had to go back to the hospital again 5 days after that because it was already booked in. And he said, the private doctor, he said, still go to it, because if you might want a medication or surgery route or need that, and they won't offer you that until you've had a scan with them. So went to that scan, and they found the fetal pole. I don't know if you know what that means, but it's not the heartbeat, it's just the embryo. But that's what they call it. So because there had been a change, they couldn't declare it a miscarriage, but they said sorry for my loss and that it was a miscarriage, but formally they couldn't say it was. And it was then come back in another week. But yeah, that appointment, because we already knew there was bad news, had already been told by the doctor, we went in knowing, but we didn't actually say anything to them because we wanted to see what their opinion was as well. And that point wasn't a great experience. It was the very final scan we had was probably the best experience we had, in that the woman was very kind and actually listened to us and asked if we had any questions, which was nice. It's find an open invite to actually ask something about what's going on. The thing I found most shocking, because this clearly happens all the time, and that's the unit that they're in, and I feel like they should be more prepared for this. And I said to Alex before we went in, I went, oh, I reckon at best we'll get given a leaflet with some charity contacts of who might be able to help us work through this. That's what I thought at very least would happen. We walked out with a general leaflet on miscarriage. I can't remember what was in it. No more than what I already knew or was just available on Google. No information about any counselling or therapy or who you could turn to. Like, you'd think they'd at least put, like Tommy's contact details, or it's Making Miracles, isn't it?
Making Miracles,
you do the counselling for. Like, would it be that difficult to put something like that on there? There's also like free or low cost support groups that women have set up that have been through it. I've found one and joined it, but there's probably more. Although I do think actually coincidentally this one seems to be quite local. I think it's more southeast typically, people in there. But like, why is it so hard to just put something like that in that leaflet? Because I feel like you walk out of there and that's it. No one's contacted me since. And I know it was early, it happened at 7+4, and then because they found the fetal pole, they said you have to come back a week later. So miscarriage started on the Sunday, the next scan we had booked was the Saturday. So they said to still go, even if I had bleeding, because they can check if it's all passed. And they had confirmed, like, yeah, it's all passed, it's just some more of the uterus lining to go. But after that, there's no follow-up. Coincidentally, I had a GP appointment booked because when I tried to access the early pregnancy unit, they tried to palm me off and say, no, you have to have a referral from a GP. So to make sure I was ticking all of their boxes, I did an online e-consult, and I said I'm pregnant and I'm having spotting. I'd like to see a GP and I want to talk about progesterone. Got an appointment back later that day for over a month later. So this was that appointment. By that point, I've miscarried. So that's the other thing. I went to that appointment. Lovely GP, really nice, really understanding, listened to me. But again, there's no help and support available. And I'm saying, can you refer me? Because by now I'd talked to loads of other women from all across the country that have been through this. And one of them said she'd got some therapy through the NHS. So I was like, I asked the question, oh, we don't offer it on the NHS. We do have counselling, but it's not specific to pregnancy loss. Right, okay. And then what I found crazy was she had to Google in front of me what charity stuff was available. And then she's writing it all down, and I'm like, yeah, I have Googled this myself already. Like, why do you not? Surely this comes up a lot. Do you not know? Yeah. So I feel like the after support is non-existent. And yes, mine happened early, but I know it seems to be the same for a lot of women. Like I've talked to a lot of women, and they've had miscarriages. They found out at the 12-week scan it's a miscarriage. Yeah. There's even at that point, there's no further help and support offered. I think it's only if you get to the point where it's classed as a stillbirth, and then there is, I don't really know, but I think there's a bit more support available. I know that if you are, from my experience as a student midwife, if you are in hospital and you have a stillbirth, there is support available when you're in hospital, and I know that you're usually able to take your time, and they'll do things to mean that you can spend time with the baby, and to do little memory boxes and footprints and handprints and
I've had a few clients that have had that experience before.
And there's the SANS charity. I think they typically work closely with those maternity units, but certainly for anything early on there's not. And I know why, because there's not the resources for it and there's not the funding for it. But there are a lot of charities and there's a lot of free or low cost support groups, and I think even just to have something, even if it is just a leaflet, because I know they don't have time in these appointments to talk to you about all the options, but just having a simple leaflet there, or something they can just hand you. Or even now, they at the GPs, they send you texts with links to websites for information. So even if they just had it on a website, it wouldn't cost them anything, would it, printing?
Yeah, true.
It could just be like part of if a woman comes in and they've had a miscarriage, we give them this. But there's nothing. And you're just left to get on with it. And I think it's so taboo that a lot of women, they've not told anyone they're pregnant at that point because they're waiting for that scan.
Yeah.
And so this happens and they are literally left alone to try and figure it out, which is not good enough.
No. I think going back to that word you kind of said earlier, is that secrecy element of it. I find it so strange and weird that it needs to be talked about more. It needs to be vocalized, people's experience and stuff, just for their own sake. I've had lots of different clients in front of me that have been through all sorts of stuff. Just knowing that support is not really there unless you go look for it yourself is baffling, really. How are you feeling about it now?
Up and down. Yeah. On Monday, for example, I was just sat there on the toilet, just burst into tears. And that was it. And then I had to sit on the landing and cry. And then I had to lay on our new floor bed in the spare room, and I just looked at the ceiling for a while, just tears just streaming down my face. And I don't really know, or I get frustrated with myself because I don't know why it sounds really silly because I had a miscarriage just over a month ago, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm getting so upset. Like, last week, so I ovulated 2 weeks after the miscarriage, which I found crazy. So last week I was doing pregnancy tests, and that was hard. They were all negative. And I think I was clinging on to, so I would have been pregnant at Christmas, would have been 14 weeks. This week would have been having that 12-week scan. So whilst I knew it was probably quite unrealistic to get pregnant that first month after, it was like the chance I could still be pregnant at Christmas. Like, I could have some good news for our families at Christmas, and then it doesn't happen. So I think there was that last week. That was quite tough, and it's really funny because I always consider myself quite resilient, and whenever I've been through stuff before, I almost have this thing where I just get on with it, which is probably not the best. Or I keep busy, bury my head in work, do this and do that, and do this to-do list, and like just keep busy, right, and get on with stuff. There's always something else to do, isn't there? But for some reason, and this is why I get frustrated, is that I just can't get this one to shift. And I also know that I shouldn't expect to feel fine. But it is frustrating because sometimes I do feel fine and I have a very hopeful, positive moment, and I always try and find the positives. So, for example, after all of the negative tests last week, in my head I was like, right, okay, well, I won't be pregnant at Christmas, so therefore I won't be feeling anxious about the pregnancy at Christmas. We would have done a scan at 7 weeks because I'm on the progesterone. So progesterone would stop you from having a miscarriage because it keeps your womb lining there. So you've got to go and have that scan to see if it's okay. That would have fallen right in the middle of Christmas and New Year. So now I'm not pregnant. I have to take some relief that I'm not going to feel anxious about that. And I'm not going to have to be thinking, I've got this scan and having all that worry, and I can just relax and enjoy a bit of time off with my family. So it's just stuck between finding positives and being hopeful. Last weekend we went and bought a baby blanket. Probably going to end up crying.
It's okay, there's tissues.
And wrapped it up, put it under the tree, because it's just an old wives' tale, but with like whatever, it's just hope. Like you put it under the tree, and it's a baby should come next Christmas or be on the way. So I can do things like that and be hopeful, and I'm not in this like pit of doom 24/7. But Monday felt like a pit of doom. Yeah, and I just like pulled my eyes out, gave myself a migraine. The same day, on Monday, my sister-in-law gave birth to our twin nieces. I didn't know how I was going to feel about it. I put the picture in our like family group chat, and I just felt overwhelming sense of like happiness and joy, which I guess kind of took me back because I didn't know how I'd feel. Like two of my best friends are pregnant as well, so it's all around me, and I'm very happy for them as well. But I didn't know how I'd feel because it's the first close babies coming since this has happened, and I felt really joyful. And then I think the initial joy all kind of settled in, and I carried on my afternoon, and then for some reason the sadness just hit me, and that's probably what it was and why I ended up crying, if I'm honest. But then that night actually we got a call in the middle of the night, and we actually had to go and get some colostrum from their freezer and take it over to the hospital. So we'd done this mad dash at like 2 a.m, and that was nice. I feel involved, and I feel like I'm doing good and I'm helping, and it felt positive. And then they were like, oh, we weren't allowed in. They were like, come back tomorrow. So towards the end of the working day, we went back and we went to the hospital, different hospital to where I found out our sad news and all of that. And we went in, and we each had a cuddle with one of the twins each, and it was so nice. And it was such a joyful moment. And my sister-in-law said to me, she was like, how are you feeling? Like, are you okay holding me? Like, are you all right? And I was like, actually, yeah. Like, I don't know why, it just cheered me up. And after that, my husband Alex, he said the same. He was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, actually, it's really nice. Like, we can still have this joy and this sadness. They can coexist. But sometimes it's figuring out how they coexist. And it's, I'm trying to make room for the sadness as well. So that I'm not always trying to be positive or always trying to be like, it's fine, everything's fine. Like, it's all going to work out. Because then I think that's probably what I did the first 2 weeks or so from the bad news and the miscarriage, was just somewhat just tried to carry on. And I didn't take time off work. Well, the day after we found out, actually, I didn't do client check-ins, but I was still messaging everyone all week. The miscarriage main day was Sunday. The Monday was awful. I couldn't even get up from laying on the sofa. The food shop delivery came, couldn't even lift one bag into the kitchen. Like, that's how weak everything was across here. It was strange because I'm quite strong and fit the rest of the time. But then the day after that was Tuesday, and it was client check-in day, and I was like, well, I missed it last week. I just need to get on with it. So I just did it and got on with it, and I went to did PT sessions the day after that, and did PT sessions the week that I found out. And I look back now, and I was like, why did you do that? Like, I think it's because I felt like it was going to help me to keep going and keep the routine, and obviously you still need to earn money because you're self-employed, you don't get sick pay. But I kept saying to Alex, I was like, God, like anyone else would just be signed off work, and you'd have 2 weeks off at least to physically go through it and mentally take time. But I just kept convincing myself it was good to still have the routine. And in some ways it was. Like, if I didn't have that, what would I have just sunk into more of a hole? Maybe. But then looking back, I'm like, perhaps I should have But I think it's because you don't know the timing of stuff. So we got the bad news, and then it was like, okay, so I got this sad news I'm trying to process, and now I don't know when physically it's going to happen. So you can't even plan and be like, I'll take a week off to deal with the bad news, but then I might need another week off next week to deal with the physical stuff. So, you just keep going, I think. But looking back, but hindsight, because now I know the timeline of things, that I could have probably taken some time off.
Hindsight's great, isn't it?
Yeah. And also I think the other thing, it's like with anything, like any kind of incident or grief, obviously people are there supporting you immediately. There's lots of messages, there's phone calls. It's all there, isn't it? And then it tapers off over time. Because it just does. Like I'm probably the same with people as well. Like your life doesn't revolve around their grief. So your life might revolve around your thing going on, or it might be heavy and central for you, but it's not necessarily for everyone else, and everyone's got their own shit going on. So
the world carries on around.
It's not a dig, but life goes on.
Yeah, it does.
But I think that's what's been quite helpful about sharing it online, because I still get messages from different people pretty much every day. It's been quite hard to keep up with, actually. Apologies to anyone that's had to wait a week for a reply. I'm not like that with my clients. They get the same day or next day. But I
don't know where to start, really. Like, it's without kind of turning it into a therapy session.
Yeah.
It's like that grief is hard, and knowing or accepting the sadness. I think that distraction, yes, it's a distraction, but that sadness doesn't really go away.
No.
And it is grief, is trauma, and I think a lot of people who haven't probably experienced a miscarriage or baby loss in any sort of form, I think they don't quite get that sometimes.
No.
And I was kind of describing it to a client the other day, is how different the grief is. So someone might lose a friend or a parent or a grandparent, but actually the loss in a miscarriage is so different, because you're grieving a life that you're hoping for. There's no especially as a first-time miscarriage, you don't know what that life should have looked like, and you have so many hopes and expectations in that, and then when that just goes, and having nothing, it's such a different feeling. You've got no memories to kind of call back on and say, oh, that was a really nice time, or whatever it is. Just point. That vision, just it goes, and that's, I feel like it's so much harder to get rid of that sadness initially, because you've got nothing to necessarily, especially in an early miscarriage. I think, having spoke to different clients who've had miscarriages at different points, it might look a little bit different. You can have castings or pictures and all that sort of stuff. So that's slightly different, but especially as a first time pregnancy, it's
and I think
hard
as well. A few people have said this to me, and it's sort of validated my experience. But as soon as you get that positive pregnancy test, you do start planning the future.
Yeah, of course.
And you start thinking about dates, and you start thinking about everything. I was thinking about how my work will change, and when I might stop work and go on maternity leave, and you start thinking, right, well then I'll have one more intake of my group program, and that'll be like 12 weeks up to here. And you just do that, because I'm very much a planner, and maybe some people don't, and they just coast through and everything falls into place. But I'm a planner, so is Alex. We think ahead and look ahead, and it's quite exciting though as well. It's like, this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, and then it's also coming to terms with that's not happening anymore. You can't
unthink those things. You can't take back those thoughts and plans, really.
And the other thing I've come across as well, this is maybe the downside of sharing it online, but you're always going to get negative comments.
I was going to ask about that, actually. Like, what kind of, if you have negative stuff on it?
Yes, I've had comments saying, well, how many weeks pregnant were you? But in a way that, well, it's so early. Why so bothered by it? It doesn't even matter, does it? 'Cause, you know, you hadn't even seen a heartbeat, or there's that sort of attitude, and I just think, oh God, like that's on them. They can't have the empathy to see why that might
probably
be
from
tough.
people who haven't necessarily experienced that.
No.
Either.
And then, because I've shared online that I'd gone shopping with my mum, and my mum lives 6-hour drive away in Cornwall, so we don't get to see each other often. She still works full time, and she only comes up to Kent periodically when she can. And in Cornwall, as you probably appreciate, there's not many big shopping centres, so we have Bluewater up here.
Yeah.
So my mum said, right, when I come up next, each time I come up now, we'll pop to Bluewater and we can look at some baby stuff. And each time I come up, I'm going to get you some things. So she put a little bit of money aside, and that was what we were going to do. And it was early. It was about 6 weeks, and I was spotting. And I said to her, she knew I was very anxious, and I said to her, like, do you think we should still go shopping and look at bits and get some stuff? And she said to me, oh God,
okay.
Can't say. She said, just for one day, let's just have hope, like just for one day. And
so take your time. There's tissues next to you if you need
them. And my thing with me and my mum, our thing is like one day at a time. So that's been our thing for a decade now, that we say to each other, like, one day at a time, just for one day. So when she says that to me, I'm like, okay, I'm trusting that. And I tried my best. Every time I went to the toilet, there's more spotting. And I come out and I said to her, like, oh, there's more. It's like, it's still going. And she's like, look, just for one day, and I have hope. And I'm really glad we did, because besides whenever I went to the loo and needed 5 minutes to like come back down, we had such a nice time looking at stuff. And I kept saying to myself, what if there is no problem? What if this works out? What if there's a healthy baby at the end of it, and I've ruined this time and not allowed myself to feel any joy or have any positivity? So we still went around the shops, and she bought me baby stuff. So I've got baby stuff at home in our spare room. And when I shared that, there were some negative comments. Who goes baby shopping that early? Who does this? Why did you do that? And I know that there's probably people like close to me as well that are like, why did you do that? But they won't say that to your face. But it's because we chose to choose hope. And I also still, like I said earlier, believe that there is no safe point. Like, people will go, I'll wait till 12 weeks to announce it. I'll wait till, I don't know when, 30 weeks to have a baby shower, 32 weeks to buy a pram, or my friend that's pregnant, she bought a pram quite early, but she doesn't want it in the house because there's an old wives' towel superstition thing about not having it in the house. And I'm like, people will respect that choice and that decision, but I think that's more generally accepted in society. But if you choose something out of the norm or out of the box, there is that judgment, and then that makes it harder, because you're like, oh, have I just been an idiot? Am I stupid for getting excited and trying to find hope? So I do have that in the back of my head as well. But at the same time, that's still a memory. So saying about memories, actually thinking about it, that is one of the only memories and positive memories of that pregnancy. And obviously we're trying again for a baby. We still plan on having a baby whenever that may be. We're still going to use that stuff. And I just have to see it now as another symbol of hope. Like, that's there, and it's not, try to not see it as a sad thing, but it's hope in that a baby's coming, and we will use those things. It's the same as we put tickets to go to this baby show because it's only on twice a year. And like next year, I think it might have just been a bit late, and I think I would have just been a bit like, oh, I don't want to walk around doing that. It was up in London as well, so you know what that's like for a day out. We actually booked it before I even found out I was pregnant, because it's all exciting, and I love stuff like that. And obviously, a couple of my friends are having babies, sister-in-law's having babies. There's just all around us. I was like, let's just go, it'll be fun. Yeah. And Alex agreed, and I was like, and if I'm pregnant, then even more exciting, because it'll be like more real. But I was like, let's just go and have a look. And we're quite we like to think, well, we like to think ahead and we like to plan, but we like to budget and know where we're at financially. So I was like, well, it's the fun thing to do. We can look at future and also figure out how much this whole endeavour is going to cost us, and come up with like because sometimes you don't think about some of the stuff you might need or not need, because there's a lot of
it's never
you don't need, right? So we were all sort of in that stage. Obviously, we was at the point of buying the tickets. We'd just started trying to conceive. And like I say, thought, we might be pregnant by that point, so we booked the tickets and then started having all the spotting and the issues. And then I had these 2 private HCG blood tests done in the end, and they came back fine, and the levels had gone up in 48 hours. So I was like, oh, okay, that sounds positive. So we decided to still go, and we went, and we had a great time. And again, a memory from that pregnancy.
Yeah.
But then there's still that judgment of like, oh, why would you go to that early? It's like, what am I supposed to assume, that my pregnancy is not going to make it, or baby's going to die? You want me to be? It's almost like you're telling me that I need to assume the worst until it's socially acceptable to assume everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
When you can't guarantee it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
There's someone, I'd call them like an acquaintance now, but from the past that I've got on Facebook, and I saw, couldn't have been a week after my miscarriage, around that time, she'd had a stillbirth at 34 weeks.
Yeah.
And I just think, well, it's socially acceptable at that point to have decorated the whole nursery, bought everything, had a baby shower, be ready to go, and it can still tragically go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
There's no safe point. There's really not.
There isn't.
So,
how do you look after yourself? Like we talked earlier about, obviously you supporting a lot of women online. Obviously, this is what you've been through the last couple of months has been horrific. So what, kind of going back to what this podcast is about, is like the roles we play and those different hats that we kind of put on. You give a lot, and you've had a lot kind of happen. So what is it that you do to look after yourself?
The main thing, and as you can imagine, this is probably been thrown up in the air, is training in the gym. That's the one thing that helps me feel better after. I mean, there's endorphins that you get released after exercise, but I think and I say this to my clients all the time, it's about showing up for yourself, and it's about doing the thing that you told yourself you would do and promised yourself you would do. And I know why exercise is good for me. Like it's not just for my mental health. I know all of the benefits of it, and I know that's things I don't want to lose out on or go backwards in. I have gone backwards. I'm not as fit or strong, and that's fine. But that has been one thing. I notice when I don't make it to the gym. So I mentioned about Monday getting very down on Monday. I'd not done anything since the Thursday, and I'd missed a session. And I don't do loads of sessions. I do 3 gym sessions a week tops. Yeah. I'm not one of these 5 times a week people anymore. I'd missed one, and I really felt it. And then Wednesday night, I had a personal training session with my friend Paul, who is an absolute anchor, by the way. I had my session with him. He He knows when to push me, and I'm able to, because he's one of my closest friends as well, I'm able to say to him, like, I'm feeling shit, I'm really low, I'm upset, but I need you to push me. And he's able to do that. So after that, I felt brilliant. I was like, I've accomplished this. I feel fitter than last week. I've done something that I said I'd do. I went and again on my own to gym Thursday. So there's that. I've been used to have huge tendencies to emotionally eat and binge eat. I've not lent into that. When I was very anxious and it was all up in the air and I was stuck in limbo with is it okay, is it not okay, we were definitely eating more chocolate than usual, and I put on quite a lot of weight for only being 7.5 weeks pregnant. But I've not been turning to food in that way. Sometimes I think if I was, I might feel a bit better, because I say to my clients as well, food is still a valid coping mechanism, but you need other ones. If I was leaning on that a bit more, maybe I'd feel a bit better, but it'd be very temporary. It doesn't fix anything. So, yeah, I guess just try not to lean into old coping mechanisms, really, and still trying to do things like eating regular meals and making sure I'm having a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner, and fueling myself and respecting, whilst I want to lose some of the weight I put on, because at the end of all of that, my clothes didn't fit and I felt uncomfortable and not great in myself, and of course, like, my body had let me down as well on top of that. So whilst there was this, I want to lose a bit of weight and feel a bit better, fit my clothes, just trying to have some respect for my body, and that it's been through a lot, it needs to heal, and that I'm not going to be helping my fertility if I just don't eat or try and lose that weight again really quickly. But yeah, just trying to eat well, have enough protein and fruits and veg and fibre, still taking all of my supplements, so I still, and it's not like, I'm taking my supplements so therefore I feel better and that's helping me cope. It's just I'm sticking with the routine, and I'm still trying to do what I did before I got pregnant. So back to the whole, like, the 6-month baby making prep that I talk about on Instagram, just still doing those things and almost having those as like tick boxes throughout the day. And when I was in that limbo of not knowing if it was okay or not, it was like living tick box to tick box. Because it's like I get up, supplement, tick box, right, eat breakfast, tick box, have a shower, tick box. It was like do this and then do this and then do this. And I'm not diagnosed in any way with neurodivergence, but I do think I have a neurodivergent brain, but that's another topic. But I think that's where it can help to have those, this is what we're doing. So we stick to, like, this is the things that need to be done. And I think that is a bit of a coping mechanism in itself.
If you had to diagnose yourself, what would you diagnose yourself with? Or what do you think that neurodivergence is?
Autism and ADHD.
Okay.
Yeah. I did start going down 3 years ago, nearly 4 years ago actually, trying to get an ADHD assessment through the NHS. Got 2.5 years in. I hadn't spoken to a single person, not even on the phone. I'd filled out, I think, 3 questionnaires in total. My mum had to fill out a questionnaire about me as a child. Yeah, it's quite a long
process,
and I got basically rejected at the point of just questionnaires, but it took 2.5 years to get told you're not on to the next step. I didn't even understand the questionnaires. I was like, I don't know how I'm meant to answer these questions. So I was like, how, you've not even given me an opportunity to just even have a phone call with someone. And then there was this other stuff in life that happened around the same time, so I just thought, I just don't have the energy to pursue this, and I just try and find my own ways of dealing with it and working with it, and knowing, like, I probably need more time alone than a lot of people. So knowing my limits, social battery, and my ways of dealing with stuff. But I think at times like this, it really shows up.
In what way?
In the overwhelm and the paralysis.
Okay.
Like on Monday, like, yeah, I was upset, but I was also, I think part of getting upset was because I was so frustrated at feeling paralysed.
Yeah.
Like I'd sat there all morning trying to get work done, and I was just paralysed. And it's not because I was in the depths of sadness or thinking about the miscarriage and everything. I was just stuck. And that happens regardless. That was happening before all of this happened.
Yeah.
There's this overwhelm and the amount of things in my brain at any given moment. Yeah, that's just a few of the things. There's more.
Yeah.
Still like following around for a day. My husband is diagnosed with ADHD as well.
Yeah. And
we're pretty much exactly the fucking same. Except he's a man and they get listened to.
Yeah, it's just very. Well, I found it, in my experience, it can be quite different between men and women. There's a lot of similar stuff, but women tend to be good at masking it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, I think I did that for a long time. And it's exhausting. And I think it's, again, part of like being a lot more authentic in my work and online is just trying to just be myself.
Do you think it's, I don't want to run the risk of turning it into a therapy session, but with that kind of belief or idea that there's that ADHD or autism there, is there any part of you where you feel like that's a hindrance, or is that just?
No, I don't think so.
It's just who you are, and you run with that.
I think the only reason I would like a potential assessment or diagnosis would be to, I suppose, almost feel more socially accepted for being the way that I am, because I think it's really hard to explain to people around me. Like I can't, because I do still end up masking.
So it's not necessarily for self-validation, it's more for other people to go, oh, that makes sense.
And self, because when I get myself really frustrated with it, I'm like, for God's sake, like, if I just had that, then I'd know for sure it's that, and that's why I am.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I can also just accept who I am, and like I've done the last few years, try and find the ways of coping with it.
Yeah.
And I think working for myself, in some ways, it does make it harder, but it also means I can have a degree of flexibility to deal with my brain.
Yeah.
I'm not being forced into boxes like I have in the past in a workplace.
Yeah.
I don't have to sit still at the laptop for 3-4 hours in one hit. That I can step away and do other things.
Yeah.
And I can do a lot of things, like a lot of things at once. And also I can, a lot of stuff where other people panic, and me and my husband say this a lot, we can just snap and deal with it. Like, it's like this is the other thing why I'm frustrated about not dealing with the miscarriage very well, because usually I can just zoom out, disassociate from bad thing, deal with bad thing. Like, we've been there on the motorway right after an accident's happened. This back in the summer, we pulled over on the hard shoulder, ran down the hard shoulder. I grabbed this toddler, got him like the other side of the crash barrier, and we're just like, deal with this. Alex is there directing cars, and we just snap into like, just get on with it. And other times, like when family members have been seriously unwell in hospital, like, it's just this, what's next, do this, and like in any emergency.
Is that I guess I don't mean it to be a very question, but is that not being able to deal with the emotion very well.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Because I mean, just sort of thinking again from experience, talking about the an autistic trait is emotion, back off, deal with the situation in a sense, rather than going like that feeling of overwhelm. Not necessarily. No one likes to feel overwhelmed, but going, oh my god, I don't know what to do with this. So the best way to not get into that state is just to switch off. And
I think I'm quite in a genuine disaster, emergency shit thing. I'm very logical, and I'm like, what needs doing, and then what do we do, and then what do we do, and then what do we do? In day-to-day stuff, I'm more likely to get overwhelmed and emotional and upset or annoyed or stressed. It's really weird.
Yeah.
And then I get the bigger emotions than I do in the actual serious things.
Yeah.
Odd.
Yeah.
Alex says the same.
Yeah. That's interesting. I kind of want to wrap up soon. We've got places to be. Is there any... So more from a coaching standpoint, obviously you've got a lot of experience as a coach. There's a lot of conflicting stuff online. The nod kind of shows the frustration. So what advice would you give someone who's trying to search for help, basically?
Given the amount of information online, it's hard because you need to firstly try to distinguish what's a load of bollocks and what's actually true. So a little bit of vetting in a way, like who, I guess most people are looking on social media. So if we use that as an example, who are you listening to?
Yep.
Do they, I was going to say what's their credentials, but you don't need to be getting your information necessarily from someone that's done a ton of education, for example. Like I'm not saying you've got to only listen to people with a PhD, although that's great, but you've got to be able to try and, in my fitness nutrition space, you need to try and work out who is just a person that has got into fitness and now they think that they're a fitness coach, who's got some other agenda. So in nutrition, this happens a lot. There'll be another agenda, like they're trying to, what a big one at the moment, and I won't name names, but they're trying to tell you that sugar's the problem, sugar's bad, you've got to avoid sugar, you can't have blood sugar spikes and drops. It's because they're trying to sell you programs and books all about how bad sugar is. So you need to see, this is this thing that they're telling me, are they trying to then sell me onto something, which you could say I'm trying to do, I'm trying to sell my coaching, but I'm not picking one very specific thing and drilling down into that and saying this is the cause of, like, this is why you can't lose weight, this is stopping you lose weight. It's that, what's the word, it's trying to avoid anything that sounds extreme or that is picking one specific reason why you have this problem, because they will almost create a problem so that you now think, oh, that's my problem. And it's the same with things like ones at the moment, like cortisol levels or balance your hormones, and they will make you think, I'm not losing weight because I need to balance my hormones, and then they're trying to sell you a program that balances your hormones. Like, and people will go, they're more likely to go for that because they think, well, if it's just my hormones, or if it's just my cortisol, if it's just sugar, I can change that because I've not tried to do that before. And that sounds like there's this actual problem with me that needs fixing, but it's very unlikely that is the actual problem that needs fixing. And those things, any kinds of extremes, or even like these diet clubs that I like to moan about, they're just plasters over the actual problem. Fat loss in itself is very simple. It doesn't mean it's easy, but it's simple. And that online, that looks like boring. It's not the most, like, this is why people are having to go and pick out things as extremes. and make that the problem. It's because that's more exciting and interesting, and they know people are going to want to see that content. But fat loss itself is very boring and doesn't actually get the views.
Yeah.
So I would say try and avoid anyone that's trying to tell you that this one thing is the reason you're struggling with your weight loss or your health and fitness. Anyone that's telling you a particular type of exercise is bad or should be avoided. But then also, going back to what I said at the start, making sure you're taking that advice from someone who is qualified in some capacity. Yeah. So I am a personal trainer. I'm also pre and postnatal qualified personal trainer. And I'm also EIQ certified nutritionist. I don't necessarily plaster that all over everywhere. You can only have a little bit of information in that bio. Yeah. You'd have to like swipe through my little info post to see that. But that's what I mean. You might want to dig a little bit. Or who is this person? Are they qualified? Do they have experience? I could 7 years ago did my personal trainer qualification, but I've got all of these years behind me coaching women. It was coming up for 5 years ago. I did the nutritionist, but now 5 years experience coaching women. So look at that experience of working with real people, and then think, I'll take my advice from them. And then what I'd say beyond that is pick one source of information, because, I could talk about this in the way of coaching. Like if you're going to pick one source of information or pick one coach to work with, then you need to commit to listening to them and doing as they're advising and guiding you, and not then going off and being like, oh yeah, but Miss Anti-Glucose over here said this, so should I be avoiding that? And don't I need to balance my hormones? It's like you need to pick. If you've chosen that you trust this person and you're taking their advice and you want to follow whatever they're telling you, and it would be better to then actually get coached by that person or work with them in some way. You need to stick with that one approach, because hopping around hasn't worked so far. And if you've been trying to do this for 2-3 decades, sometimes it's not worked. You need to stick with one thing. So that would probably be top advice for trying to figure out what to actually pay attention to.
Solid advice. The other question I wanted to kind of ask you is, obviously you've been through a lot. We haven't kind of dived into the backstory of how you got into coaching and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe we could say that for another time. But obviously you help a lot of women. You're growing that community, all the stuff that you're going through, trying to conceive, and the miscarriage and stuff. How is your journey over the last 6-7 years? How has that changed the way you view strength?
It's a good question.
And you mentioned the word resilience earlier as well.
I've changed my stance on, I don't think you always have to be strong.
Okay.
I used to, it's one of those things where I would always kind of celebrate people. Like, you're so strong for getting through that. You're so strong. Now I'm like, actually, I don't think it's helpful to say to people, you're so strong for dealing with that. I'm going through that. I can't imagine that. And I try and apply that to myself. And I'm like, you can be resilient, but you don't always have to be. You don't always have to be strong. And then in relation to coaching, I think, I don't know, I guess it's similar. Yeah. You've not always got to be able to handle everything. Like, you don't need to be strong as like a badge of honour. Yeah. It's okay to feel like, or let things fall apart a bit sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I think that's how you actually process stuff, especially after like the recent miscarriage experience and all of this. I'm like, actually, I don't always need to be the strong person. I can just be.
Yeah.
And that the feelings come and go.
Yeah. It's come nicely, sort of almost full circle to that human aspect.
Yeah.
it's okay to be you, whether that's strong or not, and human first. That's a nice full circle moment. Cool. So we're going to wrap up. I've got one last question for you. It's the question that I ask always at the end.
Okay.
Is there anything that you have learned about yourself or anything that you're going to take away from the conversation today?
Yeah, lots. I will probably process it all in the car on the way home, and then I'll be like, yeah, that. I think the bit that you were saying around the pregnancy loss, and even though it was early, and it's still mattering, and it's still I think that I can't remember the exact words you said now, which is really annoying, but it will come to me in the car. Trust me. It was just really validating, I think, to hear that. Not that I haven't heard it, but to hear it again from someone else about the way that you plan like your whole future out and all of that, and you're not just grieving. That was it. It was about not just grieving
the should have been,
but that actually, and this is what it was. It's different to other types of grief because you've got those memories, and there was that person, and you can look back at that. Whereas this is like the unknown, you never met them.
Yeah.
So I think that, and just that it's good to just be yourself and show up as you are and have those flaws and imperfections.
Yeah.
I talk all the time about, my clients will know about imperfect action, and it's similar to that really. Like you're just a human, can't be perfect. And I think the more I used to try and force myself to be perfect in everything, and it's not possible.
Nice.
I think probably, another thing.
Good. Thank you for coming and chatting, Sophie. It's been a pleasure. Where can people find you?
I'm on Instagram.
Yeah.
Sophie Goodwin Coaching. That's the main platform I'm on. I am on Facebook and TikTok with the same name as well.
Cool.
The Instagram is where I'm a bit more social, and you can message me there and definitely get a reply.
Thank you very much, Sophie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Between the Roles with me, Michael Blown. If you've got any thoughts, feedback or questions about today's episode, I'd love to hear from you. You can reach me by email at loquicounselling@outlook.com. That's LOQUI counselling@outlook.com, or through my website, www.loquicounselling.co.uk, or on social media at Loqui Counselling and Hypnotherapy. If you've enjoyed the conversation, please like, subscribe and share it with someone who might relate. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time on Between the Roles.